Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Eloisa Ramos, and I am here with my friends, Connie and Teresa. Hi there, and my daughter, Sonia. And together we are studying Course in Miracles. We are studying the text, and we are going to read from Chapter 10, Section 3, which is the God of Sickness. And I was just reviewing the previous section a little bit, the decision to forget, which was basically saying that forgetting is what dissociation is. We are forgetting knowledge. We are forgetting the truth of our creation, of being one with our Creator. And in that dissociation, it's not just that there's fear, but we also lose that the joy, the peace, and the glory of creation that comes from the present memory of love. So by letting go of the dissociation, we don't just, we're not just free of fear, but with it comes the joy and peace and the glory of creation, which is basically everything. I mean, what else could could we possibly want? Okay, so that's the previous section. So let's go ahead and start with the God of Sickness, paragraph 1. You have not attacked God, and you do love him. Can you change your reality? No one can will to destroy himself. When you think you are attacking yourself, it is a sure sign that you hate what you think you are. And this and only this can be attacked by you. What you think you are can be very hateful, and what this strange image makes you do can be very destructive. Yet the destruction is no more real than the image, although those who make idols do worship them. The idols are nothing, but their worshippers are the sons of God in sickness. God would have them released from their sickness and return to his mind. He will not limit your power to help them because he has given it to you. Do not be afraid of it because it is your salvation. Okay. All right. So the first line, you have not attacked God and you do love him. So it's kind of reassuring us that no, we may think that we can attack God and we may believe that we are sinners and evil and all of that. Okay. But that's not true. We do love him. Um, and because the second line says, can you change reality? Because that's reality. In reality, cannot be changed because it is a part of knowledge. And knowledge is eternal. So our eternal nature, our eternal self, which is our true reality, cannot be changed. So no one can will to destroy himself. So in other words, the loving will with which we were created is a will that can only extend so that it does not have the power to destroy. It does not have power to take away. It's only when we confuse ourself with a body or the ego that we think, oh, I can hurt myself, I can destroy myself. So when you think you are attacking yourself, it's a sure sign that you hate what you think, okay? And so here the word think is italicized because there's a difference between what we are and what we think we are. So we can think anything we want about ourselves. We can believe anything we want about ourselves, and we can make images of ourselves to go along with those ideas, with those thoughts. And then we can believe that we are those images. Okay. And what it's saying is that because earlier it said that we make an ego for others and we make an ego for ourselves. Well, that's the image of what we think we are. That's what we call the ego. And so and so 5 says this and only this can be attacked by you. So basically, anything associated with attack is something that the mind we have made up to believe it's ourself. So if you're in a situation where you feel, like, oh, someone was really rude to me, or, they really hurt my feelings, or where you feel that you were attacked, if you really look at that, okay, and you look at, okay, well, what was it exactly that was hurt? What was it exactly that was attacked? It will be an image that we have made of ourselves, of what we think we are. So if I identify myself with my feelings, okay, and then someone says something and then I feel hurt in my feelings, then what's hurt is my feelings. And because I think that I am my feelings, I'm identified with them, I'm going to experience that hurt. Okay, but it's not my true self that's hurt. um, it's an experience of feeling hurt because I've identified with myself as a feeling that I made up. Um, so let's see. So what you think you are can be very hateful. So we can make up ideas about ourselves, and a lot of times, yeah, they are. You know, we we can blame ourselves for a lot of things. We can see a lot of imperfection. We can see a lot of things we've done, and we're like, oh my God, what kind of person am I? I must be, this, and this, including we can think of ourselves as evil. Okay, we can think that we're evil. Um, so, um, and that's very hateful, and what this strange image makes you do can be very destructive. Yes, because that image is going to play out what it thinks it is. Because remember that doing comes from thinking, behavior comes from what we believe we are. So, 7, so yet the destruction is no more real than the image. And this is really, this is not really easy to accept. It's like, what do you mean, destruction is not real? I mean, look at the world, look at the war, look at, and but the world is a world of perception. It's a world of images. And so that's why, pretty much all of the spiritual traditions will tell you that the world is a dream. It's an illusion. It's it's a oh, it's imaginary. So if the image that's being hurt is not real, then the destruction of it cannot be real either. And ultimately, until we really recognize that we're not the body and that the body is not a separate real thing, this idea is going to be really, really hard to accept. We're going to have a lot of resistance to it. But it's the truth in the sense that God is eternal and we are children of God. And what is eternal cannot be destroyed. And of course, Jesus demonstrated that through the resurrection and through the, bringing Lazarus back from the dead. I mean, those are lessons. The miracles demonstrate that the laws of the world have no power over a son of God. So, okay. But this says why we have such a hard time believing it. Number 7, those who make idols do worship them. Um, so the images that we make of ourselves can be worshipped like idols. Um, And therefore, we protect those beliefs, we protect those images that we have of ourselves and also of others, because they're basically judgments that we've made. And we want to, and the reason why they're idols is because we have substituted them for God, because now we're going to protect and defend those as if they were the truth, and they're not the truth. So the idols are nothing, okay, but their worshipers are the sons of God in sickness, okay, and that's why it's called sickness, because our belief makes them real to us when they're not real, and that's basically a delusion. The mind is deluded; it's not sane. Um, and God would have them released from their sickness and return to his mind, capital M, okay? Um, he will not limit your power to help them, okay? So the healing of the mind is uh, basically the release of the blocks to the awareness of love's presence as our true self, And it's a course in miracles, because that's that recognition opens the mind to receiving the miracles and blessing the world with those miracles. Okay, and there's unlimited power there. So do not be afraid of it, because it is your salvation. So it's a benign power. It's a completely loving power. And in the world, we can be afraid of it because we're used to thinking of power as a position in the world that's, high and mighty, and that can punish and can be cruel. But that again is a false idol. It's an image that we have made of, of ourselves or of God. Okay, so that was a long explanation, but okay, number 2, Sonia.
What comforter can there be for the sick children of God, except his power through you? Remember that it does not matter where in the sonship he is accepted. He is always accepted for all, and when your mind receives him, the remembrance of him awakens throughout the sonship. Heal your brothers simply by accepting God for them. Your minds are not separate, and God has only one channel for healing, because he has but one Son. God's remaining communication link with all his children joins them together, and then to him. To be aware of this is to heal them, because it is the awareness that no one is separate, and so no one is sick. Go ahead, I think you have more
Yeah.
to say.
Well, it's kind of funny, right? Because it kind of does this backward flip here, because at the very end it says, and so no one is sick. And then um and then it starts out with saying, what comforter can there be for the sick children of God? So in one paragraph, it just completely turns the perception. So yes, accept his power through you. So it's first looking at the error, okay? And what it's saying is, look, you're believing what you think you are is reality, okay? And we're calling that a sickness, okay? And so that's what needs healing. Um, and so as we recognize that that's not true, okay, being part of one mind, we offer that to the whole sonship, because because remember that everyone teaches what they believe. And it doesn't have to be like in a formal position of, being a school teacher or being a preacher or anything like that. No, in our everyday life, we are constantly in every single interaction. And even and even when we're not interacting with everyone in our own thoughts, okay, what we believe, we give power to. And and therefore we are giving value to it, and therefore we are teaching it simply by believing and valuing it. Um, so so um, so that's why 3 says he's always accepted for all. So when we accept that we are one self created uh, in the likeness of our Creator, not separate, completely equal, then this remembrance of our Creator, of Him, awakens throughout the sonship. So let's see. Um, yeah. So the mind, our mind is shifting, and it's shifting because of the quote unquote individual contributions of each mind. Because there's, in truth, there's no individual minds. So it's a little bit like, let me see. Uh, oh, well, I don't know, think of, like you establish a fund, right? A donation fund to help someone, okay? And uh, that donation fund grows every time one person contributes to it. So, so then it just keeps growing, and then those funds are, well, they have a joint purpose, and so the one mind is joined in purpose, and those contributions are adding to that. And so this is kind of strange, but 4 says, heal your brothers simply by accepting God for them. Okay, so this is where the miracle comes, okay, um, because when we accept God into our mind, what it's saying is that we are accepting the thoughts of God. We are accepting the truth that we are all brothers, that we are one creation. Okay. And that's basically the end of the separation. That's letting go of the belief in the ego. In simply by accepting that truth, that heals the mind, because the mind that is sick is split. It's a belief that we are separate from each other and that we are separate from God. So when we accept the truth in our mind, we are accepting it basically for everyone, because it's a shared mind. It's the same mind. That's what 5 says. Your minds are not separate. Yes. And so because he has but one son with a capital S there. So God's remaining communication link with all his children joins them together. So the communication link is what? It's the
Holy Spirit.
yeah, it's the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And it's capitalized because it's just one. It's the same Holy Spirit. We don't all have separate Holy Spirits that we take guidance from. It's the same Holy Spirit. Um, and so, and that's what joins us, basically. His children joins them together, the communication link. And then them, us, to him, God, capital H, him. So to be aware of this is to heal them, because it is the awareness that no one is separate. Okay. And the mind that recognizes no one is separate is whole and is in alignment with the will of God, and therefore cannot be sick. So, so in truth, no one can be sick, okay, but we can believe we are, okay? So sickness is an illusion. And, that gets proven to me over and over again when I work with someone. And, what was the problem or the pain or something is there when we start. And as soon as we're done, it's not there. So where to go? Well, it didn't go anywhere. It wasn't real to begin with. You don't let go of reality. You let go let go of illusions. And that's what healing is. It's a change in the perception from false perception to true perception. Okay. All right. Number 3.
To believe that a son of God can be sick is to believe that part of God can suffer. Love cannot suffer because it cannot attack. The remembrance of love therefore brings invulnerability with it. Do not side with sickness in the presence of a son of God, even if he believes in it, for your acceptance of God in him acknowledges the love of God he has forgotten. Your recognition of him as part of God reminds him of the truth about himself, which he is denying. Would you strengthen his denial of God and thus lose sight of yourself? Or would you remind him of his wholeness and remember your Creator with him?
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So all of this is happening at the belief level here. So first line, to believe that a son of God can be sick, okay, is to believe that a part of God can suffer. So we're working with beliefs that are not true, and we're withdrawing our belief from them. Um, and so, it follows, right, that if we're all one mind, and if we're not separate from our source, then we cannot be sick. So the truth of what we are cannot be sick. And the truth is that we are the Son of God. Okay. And therefore there cannot be any part that can be sick or can suffer. Okay. Now, suffering is it's a really big issue for most of us. Not only do we not want to suffer, but we don't like seeing others suffer for the most part. Um, eh, you know, but but here it's reminding us, okay, that love cannot suffer. So it goes back to the first paragraph where we read that what suffers is not the true self, which is love. It's a false image that we have made of ourselves that suffers. And, in the case of physical attack, of course, it's the body. We consider the body to be in pain or to suffer. So, so the body is also an image that we have made of a self that we believe is separate and on its own and has to fend for itself, basically. Um, and of course, we believe that the body can attack, but but here it's saying, okay, well, that's not love. Okay, so you're believing that you're not love. You're believing that you are something else other than love, because love cannot suffer and it cannot attack. So that's why our mind needs healing, because we do believe that it can, and because we do uh, believe that we can suffer, and because we believe that, we project it and we see that in the world. So um so the remembrance of love therefore brings invulnerability with it. Yeah. So there's an inner strength that comes from remembering love, from remembering the truth of what we are, because it says, look, you're you're invulnerable. Okay. And and I think that, that's what Jesus demonstrated was that invulnerability onto um the experience of death, and then demonstrating that he was invulnerable to it by the resurrection. So do not side with sickness in the presence of a son of God, even if he believes in it. Yes, for your acceptance of God in him acknowledges the love of God he has forgotten. So a lot of times we have relatives that are sick, and we spend time with them, we visit them. But we want to remember the truth of what they are. And I think that, I was taking care of my mother who had Alzheimer's for a number of years. We lived with her. And that's one of the things that I feel very grateful for, because through that process, I was able to see her not as a body, not as her sickness, but just as a creation of God. Because it was really hard at first, when I still saw her as my mother, when I still saw her as, her, just that stuff she was doing was, stuff she was saying and doing was shocking at first, but but through that process, I was able to recognize the true essential nature of her being. And I really consider that a blessing, because when she passed, I didn't suffer. I didn't suffer loss. I didn't feel sad. There was none of that going on. So your acceptance of God in him acknowledges the love of God that he has forgotten. So even if she forgot, because that's what Alzheimer's is, I can bring that at the level of the mind. We are still joined, and it's a memory that I can carry for her, because it's the truth. So, 5, your recognition of him as part of God reminds him of the truth about himself, which he is denying. Okay. And that's all that sickness is. It's a denial of truth. That's one of the lessons. So would you strengthen his denial, and thus, see, so when we strengthen that denial, then we are believing our mind is sick too. And so we lose sight of ourself also. Or would you remind him of his wholeness and remember your creator with him? Yeah. So it's not me or you. It's us or us. We're in it together. Yeah. Okay, number 4.
To believe a son of God is sick is to worship the same idol he does. God created love, not idolatry. All forms of idolatry are caricatures of creation, taught by sick minds too divided to know that creation shares power and never usurps it. Sickness is idolatry because it is the belief that power can be taken from you. Yet this is impossible because you are a part of God, who is all power. A sick God must be an idol made in the image of what it makes, of what its maker thinks he is. A sick God must be an idol made in the image of what its maker thinks he is. And that is exactly what the ego does perceive in a son of God. A sick God, self-created, self-sufficient, very vicious, and very vulnerable. So is this the idol you would worship? Is this the image you would be vigilant to save? Are you really afraid of losing this? Looks like a terrible place to be, doesn't it? It looks like hell.
Well, yes, when we're identified with the body and the ego, it is. That's basically the experience.
Seriously. And we
Yeah.
live there a lot of the time.
Yeah, we think we do anyway.
Yeah, we do think we do.
We think we do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't want to live there anymore.
No,
No.
no. I don't either. Um, yeah, so let's see.
It's interesting that it says on sentence 4, sickness is idolatry because it is the belief that power can be taken from you.
Yes, yes. So I can give you an example of that. When we believe we're a body, we think that that's what sickness does, that, we feel exhausted, we lost our energy, the body organs are deteriorating. So, whether it's from age or whether it's from a chronic illness or something like that, because we're confusing power with energy, and I was just working with someone that was holding on to that belief. And I'm saying, well, how are you looking at this? And she was saying, well, I have a small child and boy, I I give all this energy to the people around me, and then I have to be separate and alone to recharge. And I'm like, well, so what do you mean by energy? She says, well, giving attention to people. So she was looking at giving attention as giving away energy. Um, and I go, okay, well, if you're giving away your energy, where is the body? And it's coming from the body. Where is the body getting that energy back when it sleeps? Where's the body's not getting any attention there? Where's it getting the energy from? Well, she didn't have an answer, because that's why it's talking here about how we consider the body to be self-sufficient. Where is it? Right here in line 7. And that is exactly what the ego does, perceiving a son of God, a sick God, self-created, self-sufficient, very vicious and very vulnerable. So we think that the body makes its own energy, that all it has to do is just rest, and then that it's making its own energy. um, so um, so that would be what self-sufficiency is, that would be what self-created is. And so but the thing about it is that we believe that we can lose that, so we believe that that energy can be usurped, it can be taken from us, it can be um we can be used up, shriveled like that witch in the Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. But so that's just a perception that the ego has of the Son of God, which is not true, but we can believe it's true. And so, and if we buy into that and we turn it into an idol, then that's what we would worship. And once we turn it into an idol, we become very loyal to it. Okay, that's the main problem with idols, is that we protect them and we fight for them, and um, we don't just allow the Holy Spirit to come in and heal that in our mind. We actually actively work to protect them from healing, basically. Yes, yes. That's why it says, 10, are you really afraid of losing this? You know, you really want to believe that you are vulnerable. See, very vicious and very vulnerable, and you don't want to let that go? Come on. Uh, so, yes. So basically, yeah. Number 3, all forms of idolatry are caricatures of creation, taught by sick minds too divided to know that creation shares power and never usurps it. Okay, so this is why the world is in so much conflict, okay, because we think we have to fight for power. Okay, we think that power is a scarcity and that, it can be usurped and that, one person can amass all this power and then, be a tyrant and a dictator and then we can, basically be slaves and servants. And the only reason for that is because we've turned those ideas into idols, and because we do worship them that way, um, and it's because the mind is sick. So, um, you know, we wouldn't have any of that showing up in the world if the mind was whole and healed. Um, yeah. So 4, sickness is idolatry because it is the belief that power can be taken away from you. So we're literally believing that um, there's a limit, that power is limited, that it's a limited resource. And of course, because we confuse it, right? We confuse it with energy. We think, oh, yeah, there's a limited resource of fossil fuels. There's a limited, and so now you can almost see how the mind is beginning to shift a little bit because now the mind is saying, well, wait a minute. Maybe there's unlimited energy resources. Look at the sun. Okay. Why are we fighting over, the fossil fuels here that are limited under the ground? How many dinosaurs died? Well, there's a limited number. Why don't we look at the sun? Okay, that's going to last longer. It's still not going to be eternal. That sun's going to burn out sooner or later. But, the mind's getting there. So it's beginning to see the possibility that power is actually unlimited because it comes from an unlimited source that is God, that is spirit. So anyway, number 5. My turn. Okay, look calmly at the logical conclusion of the ego's thought system and judge whether its offering is really what you want, for this is what it offers you. To obtain this, you are willing to attack the divinity of your brothers and thus lose sight of yours. And you are willing to keep it hidden to protect an idol you think will save you from the dangers for which it stands, but which do not exist. Okay. Yeah, so it's saying, look, this is what it's offering you here. The ego is basically offering the idea, okay, that we are a sick God from the previous paragraph, self-created, self-sufficient, very vicious, and very vulnerable. Okay, so so is that really what we want here? Okay, to obtain this, and not only that, but if we really want that, okay, look at what we have to go through here. To obtain this, you are willing to attack the divinity of your brothers and thus lose sight of ours. Because remember that our brothers, the world, is reflecting back what we believe about ourselves. Okay. So to attack the divinity of our brothers is to say, okay, well, I'm not divine either, you know? Um, and um, and why would I want to lose sight of that divinity if that's the source of infinite power? Um, so, and you are willing to keep it hidden to protect an idol you think will save you. Okay. Um, so that's what I was saying, is that we protect that idol because because we buy into what the ego offers us, and therefore we're going to have to experience sickness and suffering, because that's how we keep the truth hidden, that we're not that idol. So because we're actually putting our safety, our we read somewhere where the question is, where do I go for protection? I'm trying to remember what section that was. And that's the question that the ego never wants us to ask. Where do I go for protection? I can't go to the body. The body is weak and vulnerable. I can't go to the ego because the ego says, well, that the ego identifies with a body, and then it said, well, the ego just obliterates the question, so you can't ask it. Well, this is where we want to ask, because there is no safety in idols. Idols cannot offer us safety. See, that's why it says, you think the idols will save you from the dangers for which they stand, but which do not exist. So the safety does not exist either, um, um, because all idols can be threatened because they're not real. And remember, at the beginning of the course, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. And so the idols, they rise and they fall. That's the history of the world here. Civilizations, they rise and they fall. So they're not going to last forever because they're not real. Okay, number 6.
There are no idolaters in the kingdom, but there is great appreciation for everything that God created, because of the calm knowledge that each one is part of Him. God's Son knows no idols, but He does know His Father. Health in this world is the counterpart of value in heaven. It is not my merit that I contribute to you, but my love, for you do not value yourself. When you do not value yourself, you become sick, but my value of you can heal you, because the value of God's Son is one. When I said, my peace I give unto you, I meant it. Peace comes from God through me to you. It is for you, although you may not ask for it. I need line 3 explained.
Okay. Okay, so health in this world is the counterpart of value in heaven. Okay, so up here it says that there is great appreciation for everything that God created in the kingdom. So inner peace is health is inner peace. Okay, that's in the Course in Miracles somewhere. Okay, and um, let's see. Okay, and so health in this world is the counterpart of value in heaven, because in heaven, what is valued is joy, peace, oneness, and and and, and by valuing peace, by valuing oneness, health automatically comes with that. Um, so so health, the experience of health in this world is in alignment with the counterpart of giving value to the thoughts of God, which brings the mind peace, joy, happiness, and the end of fear. So the whole mind is recognizes that it is part of the kingdom, that there is no separation. And that brings up great appreciation for everything. So it's a valuing of myself because I know that I am part of everything that God has created. And it's a valuing of you and my brother because you are also that, the same as me. And because I value that, my mind does not attack. Not only because I recognize there's no separation, but also because I recognize that it's not in my highest good to attack. Okay, so separation and division is not in my highest good because I would only be attacking myself. Um, and so therefore the Son of God has does not give belief to idols. Okay, but he does know his Father. So if I no longer give belief to what I think I am and what I think you are, it means that I have left judgment. I have completely released myself from the belief that I'm in a position to judge. And therefore, because I don't need to judge. I mean, I recognize we're all the same. Why would I want to judge? I would just be attacking myself. Anything that I say about you would be reflected right back at me. I would be just saying it to myself. Um, so so health in this world is a counterpart of value in heaven because it means that I am valuing correctly, um, and I'm valuing not the idols that I have made of myself because I can see that they're not real. Let's see. For you do not value yourself. Yes, so 4, it is not my merit that I contribute to you, but my love, for you do not value yourself. Okay, so when I choose to forgive, okay, I am choosing love as a memory, both for myself and I'm sharing that with you because we're one mind. Um, so to value myself and to value you is to decide for forgiveness because I'm sharing the truth of what we are, which is love. So it's an action that demonstrates it's a true reflection of what we are. So when you do not value yourself, you become sick, but my value of you can heal you. So the power of forgiveness is the power to recognize that what we are is worthy of everything. It's worthy of health. It's worthy of happiness. It's worthy of joy. And so the mind opens to receive those because it's not protecting the other beliefs that say, oh, I'm this miserable, evil self that does not deserve good things. You know, I'm not going to accept, I'm not going to be happy. I don't deserve it, you know? And we do say things like that. Um, I, I self-sabotage myself because, you know, this is too good for me, so I'm just going to ruin it. Um, so there's that piece of the judgment that we've made that's an idol that says I am not worthy of health, so I'm going to be sick, because the sickness is the evidence that what I think I am is true. So 6, when I said my peace I give unto you, I meant it. So basically this is I give you health because it's my peace. And when you look at the stress, when you look at the internal conflict or the external conflict, you definitely see the connection there between health and sickness. Um, I see it with my clients all the time. I mean, I have a client who has eczema, and man, that itching, soon as she goes into conflict, soon as she goes into guilt, soon as she goes into fear, I mean, her skin just starts itching like crazy. So she has this clear evidence for her to see that the fear and the conflict and all of that is not in her highest good. And and that once we see that connection, we're much more motivated to let go of all those beliefs that are all based on fear and separation and division and conflict and fighting. gotta I gotta fight to protect what I've made, my idols, basically. So yeah. Mm. So in other words, the practice of forgiveness, which is the foundation for A Course in Miracles, is how we extend peace, and that's what heals the mind. So number 7 says, peace comes through God, from God, through me to you, because I forgive. I'm not going to judge. I'm going to love. And that's how I stay healthy. That's how I stay in a place of peace and happiness and joy. And that's what I share, to everyone. So, yeah. Anyway, number 7.
When a brother is sick, it is because he is not asking for peace and therefore does not know he has it. The acceptance of peace is the denial of illusion, and sickness is an illusion. Yet every son of God has the power to deny illusions anywhere in the kingdom merely by denying them completely in himself. I can heal you because I know you. I know your value for you, and it is this value that makes you whole. A whole mind is not idolatrous and does not know of conflicting laws. I will heal you merely because I have only one message, and it is true. Your faith in it will make you whole when you have faith in me.
Okay, so remember up above where it was saying about how we make images and that we can hate ourselves because we make these images of ourselves. Okay, and then we have all this hate for ourselves, um, and so that's why we don't value ourselves. So this is um, and once we reject ourselves, once we dislike ourselves, once we judge ourselves bad, unworthy, whatever we judge ourselves, we're going to be in conflict because we've split the mind. So the truth is in our mind. It's part of what we are, and we can, dissociate from it. We can forget it. Okay, that's what we were reading in the previous section. But it doesn't leave us. It's always there. It's part of what we are. It's what we are in essence. Um, so conflict is basically sickness because inner peace is health. So when a brother is sick, it is because he is not asking for peace. So we're actually giving value to something other than peace. And, a lot of us are very, what's the word? We give a lot of value to, you know, to to fighting for, for justice, fighting for my rights, fighting for what I think is right. Okay, that's a big idol. what I think is right can be a very, very well protected idol, and I will fight you tooth and nail to prove to you that I am right. Okay. And so, and so therefore we are not valuing peace. And and because we're not valuing peace, we do not know that we have it. We forget, we dissociate from that, which is our true reality. It's our true inheritance as a child of God. The acceptance of peace is the denial of illusion, you see. Um, and and sickness is an illusion. Um, so so to accept peace is to accept love, okay, is to accept and to give forgiveness. And that's what heals. And it heals the illusion, and therefore all the symptoms are gone. That's what sickness is. They're all symptoms, but they're illusory. So so yet every son of God has the power to deny illusions anywhere in the kingdom merely by denying them completely in himself. So in other words, we can't offer what we don't have. And so we really have to do the inner work um, to, uh, let's see, to, to make sure that we stay in our right mind so that we can offer the miracle, so we can offer peace. So that's basically what the Course in Miracles, what the work is. That's what all the daily lessons are about, is reinforcing and remembering, oh yes, okay, I am as God created me, you know. Let's see, there's nothing that my holiness cannot do. Okay. So I can see this differently. So all these thoughts are what help us to free ourselves from the false ideas of the ego that are illusions because they're false. So, okay. And so the knowledge, the knowledge of the truth of what we are is what heals. So that's why 4 says, I can heal you because I know you. So Jesus could heal because he knew without a doubt he was the Son of God. And that's what he taught, and that's what he shared. And it healed. It healed people. I know your value for you, and it is this value that makes you whole. Yes. So a whole mind is not split on being good and bad. A whole mind knows that is completely holy. There is no bad. The holy mind has not lost its perfection because it's still one with God, who is perfection. A whole mind is not idolatrous and does not know conflicting laws. So there would be no fear there. Conflict, there's always fear in conflict. Yeah. And so that was the power, of the Son of God, of Jesus. I will heal you merely because I have only one message. There's no split mind there. And it's true. So your faith in it will make you whole when you have faith in me. So um so when we recognize that we are the same creation, um, not different. We tend to make ourselves different than our brother Jesus. We tend to say, "Oh yeah, no, he was divine, but hey, I'm only human. I can't forgive." um, then we're separating ourselves. So that's a belief in separation. So number 8.
I do not bring God's message with deception. And you will learn this as you learn that you always receive as much as you accept. You could accept peace now for everyone and offer them perfect freedom from all illusions because you heard his voice. But have no other gods before him, or you will not hear. God is not jealous of the gods you make, but you are. You would save them and serve them because you believe that they made you. You think they are your father because you are projecting onto them the fearful fact that you made them to replace God. Yet when they seem to speak to you, remember that nothing can replace God, and whatever replacements you have attempted are nothing. This is a very powerful paragraph.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. He's basically saying we have the power now to accept peace for everyone.
Yeah.
And you have heard the voice of God, so you can do that.
Yeah. So we have to look at what would be stopping us from just doing that and let that go. Those are the blocks that we're working to release.
It's interesting that it says you will always receive as much as you accept. So it's a lot about willingness.
Yes. And so the limitation comes from our not willing to accept the truth. Do you see what I'm saying? We limit the
Yes.
truth. And that's what scarcity is. It's our own doing because we are being given everything, okay? But we choose to deprive ourselves of it by not accepting it. So that's the block. The mind believes in its idols and values its idols more than unconditional love, which is everything. Joy, peace, happiness, no fear, no conflict. So we could accept peace now for everyone. But in order to do that, it's number 3, but have no other gods before him. See? Or we block out the Holy Spirit's voice. Yeah. And we are very devoted to a lot of our idols. Number 5, you would save them and serve them because you believe that they made you. In fact, sometimes we make our parents into idols. So we believe that, well, who made you? Who created you? And you'll say, well, my mom and dad. Right? I'm a body. There are 2 bodies that came together, and here I am, another body. And then we internalize. So you think they are your father because you're projecting onto them the fearful fact that you made them to replace God. So um, once we elevate our own ideas and worship our own ideas, we will listen to them as if they were authority. So this is part of the authority problem, is that we make the idols into authority figures. And then we kind of just obey and are afraid to quote unquote disobey. Because we fear punishment. So we've made a false idol of God to be a punishing God, just like my father or just like my mother, and now I'm going to be afraid of God. So there's all this confusion there, because we've made them to replace the one God, the one creator. Um, yeah. So just remember, nothing can replace God, and whatever replacements you have attempted are nothing. Yeah. So we have to be willing to look at what we have made and see and let go of our own miscreations and see that they have nothing to really offer us. That's why they're called the idols of sickness. Ultimately, that's all they offer us is sickness. So, where I think it's making the point that the ego does not offer us anything that is really valuable. And so we are valuing the valueless when we stick to our idols and the ego. beliefs. So, okay. Number 9, is that my turn? Very simply then, you may believe you are afraid of nothingness, but you are really afraid of nothing. And in that awareness, you are healed. You will hear the God you listen to. You made the God of sickness, and by making him, you made yourself able to hear him. Yet you did not create him because he is not the will of the Father. He is therefore not eternal and will be unmade for you the instant you signify your willingness to accept only the eternal. Okay, so you may believe you're afraid of nothingness. And in this case, it's saying you're afraid of the idea that maybe you are worthless, you are valueless, you are, um, basically unworthy to be alive because, you know, what you've made of yourself is, you know, is bad or something. But it says that's not really what you're afraid of. You're really afraid of nothing because all those ideas are illusory. They're nothing. They're not real. And in that awareness, you are healed. So everything we think we are is not true. And the minute we realize I made that up, I can just let it go. And it's not true. I don't have to believe it anymore. And everything that that resulted from that belief will disappear. So all the symptoms will disappear with it. You will hear the God you listen to. You made the God of sickness. So what we listen to is what we are willing to accept. That's how we limit. That's how we filter. That's what perception is. It's a filter. And we are the ones that decide, okay, am I going to listen to the thoughts of the ego? Am I going to listen to the thoughts of God? And that's what we're going to hear because they're both in our mind, but we're choosing which ones to listen to give attention to believe. Our own, ideas of sickness, the God of sickness, which we made because we made ourselves into something that could hear that God of sickness. So those are all thoughts of what we think we are and of what we think God is, which are not true. Yet you did not create him, okay, because he is not the will of the Father. So everything we think we are, we can believe, but it's not the will of God. It's a miscreation, and therefore it's not eternal. And that's why it can be unmade the instant that we are willing to accept only the truth that is eternal. Okay, and that's the power of the mind to heal, because it made the problem and it can unmake the problem. Okay, number 10. Let's see, I think yeah, I think it's your turn, Sonia.
If God has but one Son, there is but one God. You share reality with him because reality is not divided. To accept other gods before him is to take other images before yourself. You do not realize how much you listen to your gods and how vigilant you are on their behalf. Yet they exist only because you honor them. Place honor where it is due, and peace will be yours. It is your inheritance from your real Father. You cannot make your Father, and the Father you made cannot make you. Honor is not due to illusions, for to honor them is to honor nothing. Yet fear is not due them either, for nothing cannot be fearful. You have chosen to fear love because of its perfect understanding, and because of its fear, you have been willing to give up your own perfect helpfulness and your own perfect help.
Anything, Sonia? No? Okay. Okay, so to give honor to what we've made is to be in conflict, is to split the mind because we are believing in illusions. Um, and reality is not divided. So by giving honor, by giving allegiance, by being loyal to our own ideas, and by not recognizing that we're wrong, basically, we are choosing to be unhappy. And we are rejecting peace. And peace, number 7, it is your inheritance from your real Father. So all peace is inner peace. It comes from God. And if we have peace, we can give peace, and then the world will reflect that peace. Okay. So, a lot of times people have difficulty with the course because it really emphasizes the inner work. And a lot of times people want to change the world and make the world a more peaceful place by doing outer work. But the outer work is really an effect of the inner work. So so to bring peace to the world, we have to have peace in our mind to be able to give it. Um, and so and in order to give it, we have to accept it from God because it's our inheritance. So we don't make peace. Peace is given to us as the inheritance, as our true nature, because God is peaceful, God is loving. And so yes. So we cannot make our Father. So when we make an image of God, we think that God is like this. So we're using our own judgment to imagine, to make an image of what we think God is, what we think God wants from us, and then we act accordingly. Okay. But that would be a Father that we made. That would not be the Father that's the creator of everything. Okay, because the true creator has no image. True creator resides in the realm of knowledge, not perception with the body's 5 senses, where that can perceive images. So let's see. So honoring illusions is to honor nothing. And so that's why we don't need to fear them, what we have made. We don't need to fear our miscreations because they are nothing. So that's why fear is not due them either, for nothing cannot be fearful. You have chosen to fear love because of its perfect harmlessness. So the ego has a way of turning things upside down. So how is it possible, okay, that we could fear perfect harmlessness? It can't harm us. Okay, but to fear love, to fear God, that's what it is. Ego has completely turned it around. And so now we can't even distinguish the difference between harmlessness and harmfulness. We're that confused. And so because of this fear, you have been willing to give up your own perfect helpfulness and your own perfect help. Yeah. So, in our confusion, we cannot help anyone because we're the ones that need help. And therefore, um, and therefore we don't accept, we block the right mind that is the voice for God, that is perfect help. And it's because of this fear. So a lot of times, I was talking to a relative, and they were saying, oh, well, I have this problem, and I'm in this conflict with this coworker, and I I and then as we go through it, it turns out that she says, yes, there was this little voice that knew that this was not the way to go. Okay. And I go, but you didn't listen to that little voice. She goes, yeah, I didn't listen to it. And and I go, well, maybe there's a lesson there, that you're to learn on what voice to trust, you know, because we have that still little voice that is not loud, okay, but it knows what is in our highest good and would choose peace, would choose love. Um, and and then there's this other voice that is like, oh no, man, you got to defend yourself. You got to make sure that, people can't step all over you. You got to, um, stand up and, teach them a lesson, that kind of thing. So it's, all those are calls for battle. They're calls for holding on to the grievance. They're calls for, you know, um, revenge. They're calls for attack. So it's very clear which thoughts are directing us and will bring us peace, and which will bring us more conflict. And once you start seeing that, you begin to to choose again. We learn our lesson, and we start choosing that small little voice that says, okay, I would rather have peace than this. Number 11.
Only at the altar of God will you find peace. And this altar is in you because God put it there. His voice still calls you to return, and he will be heard when you place no other gods before him. You can give up the god of sickness for your brothers. In fact, you would have to do so if you give him up for yourself. For if you see the god of sickness anywhere, you have accepted him. And if you accept him, you will bow down and worship him because he was made as God's replacement. He is the belief that you can choose which God is real. Although it is clear this has nothing to do with reality, it is equally clear that it has everything to do with reality as you perceive it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything, Connie, there? Line 8. No?
8.
Yeah,
Oh,
look at line 8 there.
Yeah, what about it?
Well,
It's-
what is it saying? It's saying, look, reality is reality.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
reality.
However, okay, it has everything to do with reality as you perceive it.
Well, yeah, I got to be in my right mind to perceive the truth.
Yes. So what we do is that we make reality subjective. We make it personal. We make truth my personal truth. Okay.
Mhm.
And this is one of the things we were discussing with my relative because, you know, she was saying, well, this is my truth. Okay. And I have to defend it. So even we've made an idol out of my truth. Okay. Which is a point of view. It's not truth with a capital T. It's a point of view. And I think I'm right. And that's my point of view. And I'm going to fight for it and I'm going to defend it. Okay. Because that's how I perceive it. So it's a point of view from the I, okay, that is in a world with other separate eyes that have different points of view and perceive things differently. And now we have to battle, okay, because whose point of view is going to be the truth? Okay, well, if they're in opposition, how can mine be the truth if yours is the opposite and you're claiming yours is the truth? Okay, there can't be two opposite truths. So the point here is that at the level of belief, okay, truth is not at the level of belief.
Mhm.
So once we start defending our beliefs and our points of view, we're still identified with a split mind as consciousness. Okay. So the mind is not whole there when it's defending beliefs because we've identified with particular beliefs and now we're using that as a division from you who hold opposing beliefs. Um, there was something I read that hadn't been clear to me, but yesterday after I read it, I said, okay. And it says, I think in the section on the authority problem, it says that that we should refrain from judging the reality of others, or otherwise we will end up judging our own. Okay. And so the word reality there means that people are going to believe what they're going to believe, and that's going to be the reality for them. But it's not the true reality of the one mind that we all share. Okay. Um, so what I learned, what I realized is that I don't have to disagree with anyone who has beliefs that are different from me, because I would be judging. I would be judging, quote unquote, their reality. And the minute that I do that, I lose the sense of my own wholeness and my own true reality because now I'm identifying with my point of view
Mhm.
and I'm in conflict. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
and it's only the line one, only at the altar of God will you find peace. And and that altar is our right mind. And our right mind is beyond the level of belief. Because in our right mind,
Mhm.
we recognize the oneness of everyone. There's no separation there. So remember that the first split was consciousness, and it's the domain of the ego. So that's the level of beliefs. So there's still conflict at the level of belief.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's kind of like where, you have the belief that power can be usurped, because because power can because belief has the power to miscreate. So the only power that can ever be usurped is the power of belief. It's not the true power of God. It's the belief power that can miscreate. Um, and and usurping power is part of the belief. that um, that that power is separate from the one source of all power. Otherwise, we would recognize that power belongs to God and it's of God, and God shares that power with everyone equally. So there's no reason to try to usurp it. It's within everyone exactly the same amount because it's infinite. It has no scarcity to it. So we don't have to battle for it, you know. So, but anyway, okay. Okay, so that's yes, so that's the section that we were the what was the title here? Idols of Sickness. What was the long one? The God of Sickness. Okay. And the God of Sickness, of course, is an idol. um, yeah, because sickness does not come from love, which is eternal God. Okay. All right. So unless there's any questions, I think that's it for today. And until next time, thank you for joining.
I have a question real quick
Yes.
about the altar. I'm not sure
Oh,
I have a clear understanding of what the altar is.
the altar. Yes. So remember in the example that I gave about the relative where she said, oh, well, there's that
Yes.
little voice. Okay. That's the altar. So the right mind is the altar. That's where we go to before the last step is taken to knowledge. So it's the place where the mind, the purified mind resides and is not separate from the voice for God, from the Holy Spirit, because 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 when we're in our right mind, we recognize there's no separation. So um so so we recognize that our mind is holy. So it's a holy altar to God because it worships only God, only the truth. So let's see, I think it was talking at the end there about, let's see.
Yeah, it was in
Uh,
paragraph 11, the first sentence.
okay, paragraph 11. First, yes, only at the altar of God will you find peace. So that's our right mind. So only when we're in our right mind, when we are taking guidance from the Holy Spirit, will we find peace? Will we find joy? Will we live in health, in perfect wellness? Yeah. Anytime we are not in our right mind, we're going to be in our wrong mind, and we're going to believe we are separate and the mind is split. And now we are in conflict and in division and in fear, and the mind is sick. And that sickness is going to show up, in different ways. There's going to be all kinds of different symptoms, but but they all come from the same problem, which is the belief in separation, which is the wrong mind, the ego thought system. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, any other questions before we stop? No. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Until next time. Bye.